Thanksgiving, a time of gratitude and family gatherings, is also a time when the veil between the worlds thins and the spirits of the past walk among us. In the quiet corners of history, there lurk tales that chill the bones, stories of Thanksgiving nights when the darkness crept in and horrors beyond imagining were unleashed upon unsuspecting souls. Gather round the hearth, dear reader, as we embark on a journey through the eerie, true Thanksgiving horror stories that will make you question the safety of your own holiday celebrations. In a small farming town nestled amidst the amber waves of grain, the Johnson family prepared for their annual Thanksgiving feast. The air was crisp with the scent of fallen leaves and wood smoke as they gathered around the table, eager to give thanks for the bountiful harvest. As the night wore on and the fire crackled in the hearth, strange things began to happen. The lights flickered, casting eerie shadows on the walls, and a chill wind whispered through the cracks in the window panes. Mrs. Johnson laughed nervously, dismissing the odd occurrences as mere tricks of the imagination. But when the turkey was carved, a blood-curdling scream echoed through the house. The bird's flesh was not golden and succulent as expected, but rotten and putrid, crawling with maggots and decay. Panic gripped the family as they realized they were not alone in the darkness. Something malevolent lurked in the shadows, hungry for their souls. In the bustling city of New York, the Morgan family gathered for their Thanksgiving dinner at their luxurious penthouse apartment overlooking Central Park. The table was adorned with fine china and crystal goblets, and the aroma of roasting turkey filled the air. As they raised their glasses in a toast to family and prosperity, Mrs. Morgan unveiled her prized cranberry sauce, a secret family recipe passed down for generations. But as soon as the crimson sauce touched their lips, a wave of dizziness swept over them, and their surroundings began to blur and warp. The once elegant dining room transformed into a twisted nightmare, with walls dripping with blood and shadows that writhed and contorted in unnatural shapes. Desperate screams filled the air as the Morgans realized they were trapped in a hellish dimension, cursed by the malevolent spirits that had been unleashed by the tainted cranberry sauce. In a remote cabin deep in the woods, the Peterson family sought refuge from the chaos of the modern world. Surrounded by towering pines and the silence of nature, they hoped to find peace and tranquility on Thanksgiving night. But their idyllic retreat soon turned into a nightmare when they heard a frantic pounding on the door. Against their better judgment, Mr. Peterson opened it to find a group of weary travelers begging for shelter from the cold. Reluctantly, the Petersons invited them in, offering food and warmth by the fire. But as the night wore on, they realized their guests were not what they seemed. Their faces were twisted with hunger, and their eyes gleamed with a feral light. With growing horror, the Petersons realized they had welcomed a pack of ravenous werewolves into their home, and they were the prey. Trapped in the wilderness with nowhere to run, they fought desperately for their lives as the howls of the wolves echoed through the night. In the quaint village of Salem, where history and legend intertwine, the townsfolk gathered for their annual harvest festival on Thanksgiving Eve. Amidst the dancing flames of bonfires and the sweet melody of fiddles, they celebrated the bounty of the season with feasting and revelry. But as the moon rose high in the sky, casting an eerie glow over the proceedings, a sense of unease settled over the crowd. Strange figures emerged from the shadows, their faces hidden beneath hooded cloaks, and whispered words of ancient incantations filled the air. Suddenly, the festivities took a sinister turn as the villagers realized they were part of a dark ritual, a sacrifice to appease the ancient gods of harvest and fertility. Trapped in a web of deceit and betrayal, they fought desperately for their lives as the darkness closed in around them. In a forgotten graveyard on the outskirts of town, a lone figure knelt beside a freshly dug grave, whispering words of mourning and remembrance. It was Mary, a young woman haunted by the loss of her beloved husband, who had been taken from her too soon. As she placed a bouquet of flowers on his grave, a chill wind swept through the cemetery, carrying with it the scent of decay and despair. Trembling with fear, Mary realized she was not alone in the darkness. Glowing eyes peered at her from the shadows, and skeletal hands reached out from the earth, hungry for the warmth of the living. With a scream of terror, Mary fled into the night, pursued by the restless spirits of the dead who hungered for her soul. As the embers of the fire died down and the first light of dawn painted the sky, the survivors emerged from the darkness, their hearts heavy with the weight of what they had witnessed. Thanksgiving, a time of joy and gratitude, had become a night of terror and despair. But amidst the horror and the chaos, they found strength in each other and hope in the knowledge that they had faced the darkness and emerged victorious. And as they gathered once more around the table, they gave thanks not only for their lives, but for the courage to confront the nightmares that lurked in the shadows. For in the end, it is not the darkness that defines us, but the light that shines within, guiding us through even the darkest of nights. And so, dear reader, as you gather with your loved ones this Thanksgiving, remember the true meaning of the holiday and give thanks for the blessings that surround you. But be wary, for in the quiet corners of the world, the darkness waits, hungry for the souls of the unwary. And should you hear a strange knocking at your door or catch a glimpse of movement in the shadows, remember the tales of Thanksgiving horror and tread carefully, for you never know what horrors may lurk just beyond the threshold of your own home.